Good afternoon, welcome back to Sonic Generations PC. We are still in City Escape. Now we have to do the modern side missions of City Escape. Modern City Escape's a favorite of many players of Sonic Generations. It is one of the most dramatic and memorable stages in the game. And it has, honestly, some of the better side missions, more unique side missions that make you play the game in a little bit of a different fashion than other stages and their side missions. First we have the Doppelganger Race. The cool thing about City Escape is that despite its linear nature, with all these downhill slopes, it is very much open. Like, it is very generous in how many alternate routes you can take to get to the end, especially in that first initial skateboarding section. There are probably 5 ways to get to this area that I'm in now. And then right here, just little shortcuts or alternate routes for different rewards are scattered all around that area. And whether they're faster or not, there's usually something in it for you if you take the other routes, which is how it should be done. And this little area that we just passed is actually one of the few areas you can really kind of explore, look around. There's really not too much to collect. There are some ring capsules and extra rings if you choose to explore that area. I believe there's an extra life as well somewhere in that little open area. But it's, a very expansive level. It's definitely one of the levels that can be different almost every time you play it. And that's pretty cool. And unlike the classic City Escape, it seems like the level design's a little bit more sound. The classic City Escape was definitely a fun level as well, but there were a few portions that seemed like they were a little bit either too exact, or the spacing of some of the platforms were a bit unfair. So the modern version definitely has a leg up on classic in that way. So in Sonic Adventure 2, the whole reason we even have City Escapes is because Sonic, at the beginning of that game, is captured by a military company called Gun, and they think that he is actually Shadow the Hedgehog, who had just stolen a Chaos Emerald. It's kind of unclear where the Chaos Emerald was stored and how he got caught stealing it, but for some reason most people seem to think that the Chaos Emerald was just in a store somewhere. It was somewhere with protection. It is shown later that there are 3 Chaos Emeralds on Prison Island, which is a prison that's run by Gun. So I think it might be one of their facilities that had the Chaos Emerald that caused City Escape, but it's never really worked upon. And that little jump there was actually just very easy in this first little portion of high-speed hijinks to either fall down, crack, or get hit before you have a chance to get rings. So that's what that little cut was. And this level, it's sort of just like a hard mode of the middle section of this regular City Escape. They throw in a couple more obstacles and a couple more enemies scattered around, and the enemies are actually moving at a higher speed as well. So But aside from that, it is essentially the middle portion of Cityscape with minor changes here and there. Like this lower section that I'm on, that was brand new. And these rotating platforms, those are new too. Those are moving at high speed as well, so it's not just the enemies that are moving at high speed. Yeah, I never really cared too much for the enemy heavy levels, just because in a lot of cases they are there purely to stunt your progress, not so much to help at all with the level design. But fairly unoffensive overall. Yeah. The next couple side missions are the one I was talking about, which kind of make you strategize a little more and play the game in a little bit of a different fashion. This next one is going to be with Cream the Rabbit, and we are only given a set amount of rings for this level, and you know, essentially we can hold one ring. If we lose that ring, we need to hit the Y button, and one of Cream's chows will give us another ring to basically earn another hit. So we need to make sure we get to the end of the level without getting hit that many times. And then, you know, the coolest missions on Cityscape Modern are definitely the ones where we get to use the skateboard or whatever it is. It's not a skateboard or a snowboard. It's doesn't have any wheels, but it's going downhill on the streets. In the original game, it was actually a piece of the helicopter that was carrying Sonic as a prisoner. Like it was unclear exactly what part of the helicopter it was, but he basically just tore a piece off from the helicopter. For a while I thought it was like a helicopter blade, but the helicopter never actually landed, so there's no way you could have gotten a helicopter blade off the helicopter, but that would have been cool too. The way these poles work is essentially the blue lit area. When that is lit up, you want to hit the jump button, and that will give you the momentum you need to get to the next portion of the level. If you don't hit the button in those blue zones, it's not like you'll get the momentum from that area. You'll just essentially fall off the pole. So it's not exactly how they used to work in other games, but it's more similar to how it worked in Sonic Adventure 2. Anyway, I believe we only have 2 more side missions. Yeah, 2 more side missions. This next one is called Topsy-Turvy, and it basically uses these platforms that we've seen since very early Sonic days, where they are round platforms which are moving slowly in a certain direction. The point of them is to sort of just force you to have more input on where you want to go in the level. If you don't have the momentum to get over a platform that is moving the wrong direction, you can easily fall off. So that is what these platforms usually try to do. Usually the way they are turning are opposite of where you are supposed to be trying to go. And it's a fairly unoffensive level, but this little part right here, it's very easy when you are trying to get on these next couple platforms to actually accidentally homing attack this pole right here. Just because the homing attack still activates if you're not facing directly towards the item you can homing attack. In most situations, it doesn't cause any problems, but in a situation like that where you are trying to use the air dash to be more accurate with your platforming, homing attacking a pole where you're not even trying to go progressively towards, it can be a little bit of annoyance. Luckily it only happened a couple times and didn't lose too much time. And now we only have one more. The song I just unlocked, I'm gonna go ahead and play it for this next mission. It's called New Venture, and it is from a game called Sonic Rush Adventure. And the Sonic Rush series was originally on the Nintendo DS. One of the earliest games on Nintendo DS actually was Sonic Rush, and I've mentioned it before, but I didn't really go into too much detail. But essentially, the concept of the boost gameplay kind of got its start in Sonic Rush, and it's not exactly how it works in this game, but conceptually it is very similar. The only thing about Sonic Rush that was kind of weird is that the progression of levels was very enemy heavy. You would find yourself in portions of level where you had to defeat a certain number of enemies before you can get to the next room of the level, which was fairly pointless considering the boost kind of gives you a bit of invincibility, and all you gotta do is hit the boost a couple times and you'll get through those enemies. The enemies were not a problem in the slightest. They were just kind of there to serve as something to distract you. So the level design in Sonic Rush wasn't great, but it definitely was better in Sonic Rush Adventure. The levels themselves in Sonic Rush Adventure were cool, but the progression of the levels were kind of garbage. Like, essentially you had to surf on the ocean in order to get to certain islands, and then once you got to the island, then you can play the levels. But at times it seemed like you were spending way too much time searching for levels, not enough time playing the levels. And then sometimes levels would even have certain qualifications you had to meet before you can even play the level. So kind of a hard series to give an opinion on, that Sonic Rush era. But overall, they were pretty fun, and they had a very, very unique soundtrack and very, very unique feel to them. So if you're looking to play some handheld Sonic, the Rush games are not too bad of a choice for you. So now we're just going to collect the red rings. There's no red ring up in this alternate route I'm taking, but it's fun. I got some footage of this alternate route. It's actually one of the cooler ones where it's basically you're skating above the city. It's definitely a cool set piece. So the first red ring you need to get is actually not in this area, it's around this area. There's two right next to each other right in this area, and I think I'm gonna actually be able to loop around and get one of them, because you can actually kind of go backwards. Oh, sorry, I had to restart. But anyway, there's one right up here. You gotta take 2 ramps in order to get that one, and it was actually a fairly difficult red ring to collect. That's one of the hardest red rings to collect in the game, I believe, just because you gotta hit 2 ramps in order to get to it. But aside from that, it's fairly unoffensive. I'm just gonna go over here. There's no red ring over here either, but it is where you can get an extra life, just to kind of show that Cityscape Modern does have some more open level design. Something that the boost gameplay sometimes gets a little bit of flack for is not having enough alternate routes or things to explore in the game. And just to give Cityscape in particular some credit, is that it does reward you for kind of looking around not just boosting to the end of the level and getting to the goal. And if you look around, there are some goodies for you to collect here and there. So anyway, that lower route, it's kind of counterintuitive to how the rest of the red rings seem to work. Usually the highest route is where you're going to get the most red rings, but the lower route is where you got that last red ring. And it's a very nice set piece, looks very much like some of the parts of the original level. And this part right here, very much so as well. There were a couple staircases in the original one. And the last one is a little bit tricky. Essentially, what you gotta do is you gotta make sure you stay as far to the left as possible. And then at some point, you are going to be able to jump up onto a certain ledge on the left. And then at the end of that ledge, you will get your red ring. It's not a particularly difficult red ring to collect when you know it's coming. But if you miss it, then essentially you will have to play the entire level over again, because there is no way to turn around this portion of the level. The cityscape has some of the more exact red rings, and they're not difficult to collect, but you gotta know where they are. So that could be difficult in their own right. But anyway, that was all the red rings. That was everything to see in City Escape. Next we are going to go to the Sonic Heroes level, Seaside Hill, and collect things there. I will see you then.